So what's going on with Barry Morphew? If you guys have been keeping up with the case, you know that they found Suzanne Morphew's remains. And you also know they tested and found tranquilizer in her bones. So that leads it back to Barry, who uses that specific tranquilizer. Are they taking their time, the investigators, trying to get everything to make a solid case? Or is this thing gonna keep going on and he never gets brought to justice? Let's go to the AI panel and let's talk all about this.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Studio 7-0.
Welcome.
This is somebody in purple.
It's your girl
Prince.
Shavak.
I was gonna say it's the female prince, and I'm Ed. As you call me, either one. And today we got a good one for you. It's going to be about the Morphew case. Yes, there's still some things lingering on that case, but before we get there,
Yes, this is for education, entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and always be kind to everyone, friends, family, strangers.
yes, and for those who are new, thank you so much. We do true crime. We cover a lot of different types of stuff. We use AI. We'll get in that in a second. And for those that are coming back to see us again, thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. You guys are awesome. And so let me go to here. So today we're going to talk about the Morphew case, right? And talking about Barry Morphew specifically and his role and everything. Could he be arrested again? Could he wind up in jail?
Interesting.
And we're going to go to our AI panel. For those who are new, we use artificial technology, artificial intelligence. What did I say? I don't know why I said that. I think I said it wrong.
Technology.
We use artificial intelligence technology. We use many different tools behind the scenes, and we get the information, and then we have avatars that tell us the information back. We do it ahead of time because the technology isn't there to do it real time. It kind of stutters. It's unreliable. Down the road, when it gets better, we'll do it more interactive. But right now, we have our. When we get into it, I'll explain who all the people are. So it's pretty cool. So I'm going to want to hang out for that and see what AI has to say about the subject we're going to talk about today. So for those, just a little background, we have other episodes. I'll link to the end on this case. You could check out if you don't know a lot about it. But let's talk about more recent evidence and examples of what's going on here in this case. So the latest and greatest is that this BAM type of tranquilizer was found in Suzanne Morphew's bones, or remains, I should say, okay? So we're just going to give you up to date on what the latest and greatest is in terms of what they found out in this case, like some of the information, okay? So Barry used this type of tranquilizer to take down deer and other animals. Just so happens they found this type of tranquilizer in the remains of his wife. And they did find an empty casing of this tranquilizer in the dryer. I think it was, washer dryer. I think it was a dryer. Okay. So that's one aspect of relatively new information. The next is he also was reported to have an affair with what's her name? Let's see. Shoshana. Yes, thank you. I always say that wrong. You know me with names. If you listen to the shows, you know I'm really bad with names. I apologize. So that's one thing. And the other aspect to this was also, so in addition to probably having an affair with, she was the house. She was
almost like the house. I guess she maintained the house.
And on this slide, as you can see, Suzanne Morphew liked to do bike riding, and she wore like a thinner type of material, like almost like a windbreaker style, sort of, for her bike riding. But you could see on the right, when she was home, she used to wear this gray sweatshirt, one in particular. Some people, it's common that you have a couple clothes you leave for home. It's your comfy clothes that you throw on. And then you have certain clothes you go out and you go bike riding. But she wouldn't be bike riding in a sweatshirt. Okay? So the biggest thing it is, they found her remains with this sweatshirt, which leaves you to believe that she had to be home, just thinking logically. So in recent terms and in recent history here, what's going on, we got the gray shirt component. We have the possible affair, which actually that's not relatively new. That's been going on for a while, but it's been revisited. And then, of course, finding that tranquilizer in her bones and system. So we're going to go to our AI panel, and we're going to talk about this a little further in terms of the legal aspect of this case and where it can go from here.
Yeah.
But before we do
first-
that, we just want to say thank you guys.
this
Please, if
channel.
you like our channel, want to support, please subscribe. It's free. Like, comment, share. That's great. We do have memberships. Just FYI, if you want to take the support a little further, you get early access to episodes and some other things like badges and emojis when we do live chats, which we do once a month, but we'll do more as we grow. And then regular shout outs for the next level up. You get all the stuff in the first one, plus regular shout outs and photos and just updates on things that only members will get, things behind the scenes and things about us. So thank you again for considering everything. We appreciate it. And let us talk to you about our AI panel, and we'll do a little introduction. So just high level on the top left is our medical expert. So we have her that we talk to sometimes. On the top right, we have what's that?
I was just saying her name.
Oh, go ahead.
Dr. Evelyn Owens.
Yes, thank you so much. And then on the top right, we have James, who's our legal expert. That's who we're talking about today, James Richmond. Down below, we have Chin Lee, our criminologist. And on the right, we have Carol, who's our psychologist.
Dr. Carol Kenyatta.
Yep, she's our. So today, we are going to talk with our legal expert here, James. And James, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's always nice being here.
Awesome. Glad you're here because we need your help.
Yes,
I have some questions and Shrek has some questions. So, and just to get everybody up to date, what was the latest outcome in the last Barry Morphew trial?
The murder charges against Barry Morphew were dismissed in April 2022. The prosecutors requested the dismissal because they were unable to complete essential searches for Suzanne Morphew's body due to adverse weather conditions. The dismissal was granted without prejudice, allowing the possibility of future charges. The decision followed significant sanctions against the prosecution for discovery violations, which excluded critical expert testimonies and evidence from the trial.
And of course, they did find the remains and did testing on it. So something's brewing. That's why we're doing this episode, because you can kind of see how things are going here. So you said dismiss without prejudice. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Dismissed without prejudice means that the case is dismissed, but the dismissal is not final or conclusive.
Okay.
It allows the plaintiff or prosecution the option to refile the case in the future. This is in contrast to a dismissal with prejudice, which would bar the case from being brought to court again. In the context of Barry Morphew's trial, this means that prosecutors can bring charges against him again if new evidence emerges or circumstances change.
So that's interesting.
I think that's good.
Long story short, he's not off the hook. They could recharge him. Okay, so my final question is, given all that, is there a statute of limitations in Colorado for murders? I'm just curious on that.
That's a good question.
In Colorado, there is no statute of limitations for murder. This means that a murder charge can be brought against a suspect at any time, regardless of how much time has passed since the crime was committed.
All right, I'm going to save my summary to the end, so I have some thoughts based on what James just said in those questions. But I know you have a couple. So
yes, I do. Thank you. Yeah, so what is the strongest evidence right now against Barry Morphew?
One of the most compelling pieces of evidence against Barry Morphew is the discovery of tranquilizer-related items in the Morphew home. Investigators found an empty tranquilizer dart in the dryer, along with a needle cap that is typically used for injecting tranquilizer chemicals into darts. This raises significant questions about whether Barry had access to and potentially used tranquilizers on Suzanne. Additional compelling evidence includes digital forensics and phone activity, suspicious behavior, and trash disposal, deleted text messages.
Mm.
and communication patterns, damaged door frame, and physical evidence of a struggle in which photos taken shortly after Suzanne's disappearance show scratches on Barry's arms, which
Wow.
investigators interpret as potential signs of a struggle. Additionally, a bullet was found in the couple's bedroom near Suzanne's side of the bed, further suggesting that there may have been foul play involved.
Mm.
That's the first time I heard of the damaged door and the
Yeah,
bullet.
exactly. So tell us more about this damaged door frame. That's something interesting because I didn't know about
I
that.
don't know either.
A damaged door frame was found in the master bedroom, which also raised suspicions among investigators. They noted that previous owners reported no damage when they sold the house to the Morphews, suggesting that it could be indicative of a violent altercation.
But
Mm.
that's really kind of a stretch, Chirac, because that could have happened weeks
Yeah.
before. And the bullet thing, too, that could have been. Because she did complain that there was like violence or him being
Mm-hmm.
aggressive, let's just say at the very least,
Right, and the
allegedly.
scratches.
Yeah, the scratches would be fairly new, but that bullet and the thing that could have been
Yeah,
for
could have
months
been.
or even years before that.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if they can test that as well because they can test how long.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's a good question.
Interesting. Yeah, let's see. So my last question for you, James, is based on what we know from the new evidence, how likely Barry Morphew will be charged with his wife's murder?
That's a great question.
Given the developments so far, the likelihood of Barry Morphew being charged with his wife's murder hinges on several factors, such as the strength of new evidence, prosecutorial strategy, public interest, and pressure and defense strategies.
Mm.
While there are indications that new evidence could lead to renewed charges against Barry Morphew for his wife's murder, it ultimately depends on how compelling this evidence is deemed by law enforcement and prosecutors moving forward. Based on what we know from the new evidence, it is uncertain,
Okay.
but increasingly likely that Barry Morphew will be charged with his wife's murder if sufficient
Mm.
forensic and testimonial evidence emerges.
Yeah.
Thank you, James, for that.
So
Your
basically,
input.
hinting, but basically saying in a very careful way
Exactly.
that, yeah, it looks kind of like there will be something, but, there has to be more compelling information because they don't want to go again. They're going to have one shot to do this. So do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first in terms of my thoughts?
Yeah, I'll let you go.
All right. Hold on one second. Let me just get this up. Okay. So my thoughts are this, and this is speculation. So, please don't shoot me on this because I like to go with facts, but based on knowing that there's tranquilizer, how many people in the area have tranquilizer really, and the sweatshirt, so indicative that she was probably home and all this other stuff. I got a gut feeling they're taking their time, probably not overly too much time, but they're not going to rush this. They're going to make sure they have everything in play and have all these strategies figured out. So, because they're going to have probably one shot at this, so they want to do it right. That's what I'm hoping for, and that's what it seems. Because to me, just on the tranquilizer alone, and I know you can't go by that, but that is really damning evidence that that was found in her system. And in fact, they still found the plastic port because she had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And if they find it's probably not, it's probably improbable, but if he did take the time to inject her in that port, there would be residue there. They can maybe figure that out. And if that's the case, how many people know she had a port? But let's just say that doesn't work out. Well, you have the gray sweatshirt, like I said, is in home. She wasn't really in the biking mode. So now you know everything is staged. How many people know this information? And I've had a couple episodes, Shrek, as you remember, and I might have to dig that one up again. I did an episode of that Chipmunk Debunk when he's running
Yeah.
around and there's phone activity. Everything he says doesn't match up to that timeline. So I'm hoping that they're taking their time on this and putting it all together before they bring him to justice. So
Yes.
that's what I say. Shirak?
Yes, I agree with that. But as basically stating, a lot of stuff was staged. Remember, the bike didn't have any type of evidence like it was like breaking or anything. It was just like it was laid there nice and neat. We got to think of that as well. The sweater, she normally does not ride out in that sweater. So that's when they found her in that. And also, like you said, the tranquilizer in her system, in her bones, the remainings of that. That is something that's kind of like that's additional evidence, and it's definitely something that could put Barry Morphew behind bars. I'm glad they taking their time on this because they only have a little, like a one shot. But one thing when they said dismissal, so that basically states that they can actually go back for Morphew without prejudice, right? Dismiss without prejudice, right?
Right.
So
So they
that's
can go back.
something so they can go back. And that's I'm glad they had that pause in there because that's something that he could have been like off the hook, getting away with murder. So that's something I'm glad they just taking their time and basically
Yeah.
doing it right.
It sounds like the prosecution screwed up, but I know Barry Morphew has a lawsuit, against him as well. Who knows where that's gonna go.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep track of this because this is not over, and it could be a year. I mean, who knows? It may not be till next year. I'd be shocked if it just dies in the vine. I mean, to me,
It could.
I think there's enough info. I mean, this is our opinion, which you got to give it to the legal people, but I think there's enough evidence there if they do it right to show that between all his inconsistent statements, between the money aspect,
Mm-hmm.
his affair, they could probably pull that together. Um, this the tranquilizer alone. I mean, how many people are in that area gonna have tranquilizer? They're gonna shoot a woman. Was she riding a bike and somebody shoots her with a tranquilizer on accident or something? That's gonna fly. I mean,
And one thing I do notice about these cases, like if you could do a lot of it is like if they have a lot of pressure, the prosecutor need pressure, like we want Barry, like if she had family backup to say, you know what, we want justice. I think they'll push it a little bit more, versus
yeah.
like if everyone is like, dragging their feet. Oh, okay, the case is over. Then it's something like they would definitely is going to do it, but they'll take their time because I think that definitely the media definitely has like an input in this.
Yeah. And, I know when we talk about looking into court documentation, it can be very tedious. And
Mm-hmm.
I know folks out there, they rather, I'm sure I'm like that too. I'd rather watch something. It's very hard going through pages and pages of documentation. But the one thing I can tell you can take my word on it. If you want to download the document, but basically, Barry changes his story a lot, and he changes it in such a way where it's very vague, where you can it's either done on accident or he's smarter than we think because it leaves it open up where he can cover himself. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense? Like he'll say, "Oh, when I came home, yeah, I was shooting at the squirrels like right away," and then he'll say later, "Well, I'm not sure because I might have sat out there and talked to Suzanne first, and then noticed the squirrels, and then grabbed my gun." Like, why is that? First off, to allow all those that this is one example. There's many examples like that where he goes back
Mm-hmm.
and forth and like about the bike ride and this, that, and the other thing. But to allow like him to say those statements without drilling them harder, like they should have had that information in line. Like say, hey, we got your phone records, and we got to where you actually came home
Mm-hmm.
and such and such. You would have had to have the squirrel gun handy in his truck, and then that's what he says. He's like, oh, I might have had the squirrel gun in the truck. I'm not sure, but like get it like straight to like ahead of time, knowing where you're gonna put pressure on him. Put pressure on him. I mean, he would literally, from our indication, I gotta pull that out. We may have to do another little mini episode on that once more stuff comes out in this trial. But like the way I figured with the timing, he would literally have to get out of the truck, leave the door open, have already the squirrel gun handy, somehow book it in back of the house without talking to anybody and start shooting chipmunks. I'm sorry, I said squirrels, chipmunks. And chipmunks, they're little, like, and they move so fast. Like, how would you can't even see it from a truck. Like, how would you know that? Anyhow, I'm going way off track. The whole thing, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry to preach here. It's just, oops, I'm hit the wrong button. Sorry, guys. Um, it just doesn't make any sense, Chirac.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. And remember, he was liked in the community. I mean, I think he did some firefighter. He was definitely doing volunteer work. And that all sometimes plays a part too. People don't see that because we just actually did a case where a police officer was transferred like 7 times because he was liked. And that's something that happens sometime too.
And I guess, I hit the wrong button again. I am so sorry. I guess we'll go back and talk to the AI folks. Sorry about that, guys. So here's another thing too. Now this is speculation, and I should put my tinfoil hat on. I don't like going in speculation mode.
Yeah.
I just try to think somewhat logically into speculation. He was a contractor. I know I just have friends who are in this world that do similar work that he does. And when they do a job, like I'll give you a real world example. I won't say who, but when I used to live in a different house, I had a lot of trees that needed to be cut down. These guys were like, "Hey, we'll give you the same price you gave the previous owner." I said, "Great." And they did a great job. It was really cheap because once they're out there cutting, if they cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees, it doesn't matter. I cut like 20 or 30 trees. Anyhow, so I want to get them again. They're like, "Oh, it's gonna be this price." I'm like, "Ooh, wow." And they're like, "Hey, well, it's cheaper if you can wait till we're near the area. And oh, by the way, if you pay in cash, we'll give you a better rate. We'll give you a better deal." So my whole point is that he could have done some jobs to get some cash that's quote unquote off the record,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing his context as he supposedly did, right? Because he knew a lot of people. And this is wicked speculation. Allegedly, do your own research. I'm just saying,
Right.
was it too out of the question or out of the thing where he could use that cash that's off the books to influence and get other people to help him into the scheme too? So maybe some other people took care of the situation, and that way he could look his girls in the face and say, I didn't do it. Well, technically he didn't do it, but he figured out a way to do it without him being physically hands-on.
That's like
Or
you
just
said,
an idea.
speculation. So
It's speculation. I know I probably shouldn't do that because I don't like doing that, but
yeah.
just throwing it out there. Anywho, any last things,
I
Shirok?
just want to say, what do you think about this case as well? We always want to hear the views of the community. And basically, next time, watch our show and we just basically continue this one. So we might have some more shows on this as well because we don't think this is over. It's far from over. But like Ed said as well, it may take a year. A lot of these cases, we want to see rapid ramification, and of course, because we want justice to be served.
Right.
But sometimes
We
a
gotta
lot
be
of things
patient.
happen, so it could take a year. So
Yeah. We're not going to do a show on this just to do a show.
exactly.
We just
Only when
want
there's new evidence.
when there's new evidence, and we felt like we had to close the loop on all the stuff that came out and see where it goes from here.
Yeah.
So the next time we'll talk about this, there'll be something substantial in the case worth mentioning. But
Exactly.
other than that, thank you guys so much. Thank you for hearing me ramble about my speculation and stuff.
Yeah.
And until next time,
Studio 7-0.
Studio 7-0.